This is strange. So car stalled on its own, but check this out. If I tap on the throttle, you'll see that it picks up noise. You see down there where it says synchronizing? That's happening when I press the throttle. Basically exhausted all options on the Skyline. With trying so many different things, we still couldn't get the trigger kit working. And we've gotten to the point where it's either going to be an issue with the wiring or it's going to be an issue with the crank sensor itself. So as you can see here, I've removed a large bit of my shielded wire from my spool, and I've got the ends already crimped. What makes this a little difficult though is that I'm pretty close to my lift, so I only have so much working space, so I don't know if I can actually record all this. But what I'm going to do is it's pretty simple. This pin is for the crank sensor and this is going to be for sensor ground. Now fortunately enough, this is on an EMU black, and on the EMU black you've actually got a couple of sensor ground pins here. So I'm just going to find which one is open. So 39, 38 and 29 are all sensor ground wires. Now the one thing that I do want to mention though is that if you look at the diagram here, or the pinout rather, you'll see that some of the pins are larger than the others. So you'll see that 29 is a small pin while 38 and 39 are large pins. And so this gauge wire is pretty small. And what you have to do is I just stripped it really long to fold the wires over just to get this all connected. Finally, the big thing here is the shield. So this shield actually goes to power ground. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to see where these are going to end up, and then I can figure out how much length that I'm working with for the shield. And like I said, shield just goes to power ground. I believe on the gray connector there's only, or the black connector there's only one, but on the gray connector there's two. So I'll see where we can just tap it. Again, we're just testing this for now and praying that this actually fixes the problem. Again, it's just kind of close quarters, so I don't think I'll be able to record, but I'm going to go ahead and pin this up. Okay, it was extremely tight in here, but believe it or not, both the sensor grounds were already taken up. So what I ended up doing was I just made two jumper wires, and this one, the smaller one, is sensor ground. So basically I made a pin to go into the black connector to just a plain wire, and this is the old wire that used to go into the plug and play adapter. So I just did this really quick just so we had the same quick easy way of testing and an easy way of going back to stock if we need to. So the sensor ground is attached, and then the power ground is the exact same thing. I just made a jumper wire to go into the power ground slot, into a bare wire, twisted into the plug and play adapter, and join the shielded wire. So it does look messy, but again, we're just doing this to test because we're all out of ideas. So now we're on to the next step, which will be to key it on, roll down the window just a hair so we can run the wire through a crack on the windshield here. And then we're gonna run all this wire to the crank sensor and pray to God that this fixes it. But knowing our luck recently, that I'm not going to hold my breath, but I'm gonna pray. So also, while the car is in the air, we've got the speed sensor we've got to hook up as well. So let's do that. For those of you who don't know, the R32 speedometer is cable driven. And so the way it works is that you've got the cable goes into the speedometer, and from the speedometer it converts it to a signal that the ECU sees. Now with the power tune display, the cable's obviously not doing anything anymore. So now we've obviously got to add speed. So because this is using an RB20 transmission, we're going to use the speed sensor from a 240SX. And the S13, I believe it's the same as S13, S14, don't quote me on that, but as usual, here are the part numbers for the speed sensor. So this is SC57, and this is the connector, which is S2941. Now, you'll notice that there is not a gear on it. We actually have to take the gear off the cable-driven unit, and if all goes well, it should just go right onto this guy, and then it'll pop right in and mount the exact same way. So So I have the speed sensor out. Speed sensor is pretty simple to get. It's just a 10 mil bolt right here with a little lock retainer deal. And to get this off, you just unscrew this right here, and then the whole speed sensor comes off. But if you're looking at the speed sensor, there is a difference here. So it's hard, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but this indicates that there is a circlip that goes here. Whereas the RB21 though, I'm not even sure how it comes on and comes off, because I looked down both ends, and as far as I can tell, there's not like a C-clip or anything like it on it. Now as far as fitment goes, right, the S13 one drops right in perfect, no problems. So you won't use the locking retainer deal that the RB20 box has, which is this guy right here, because it's built into the S13 one, whereas on the 21, as you can see, it does not have it. So it looks like we've got to get some more hardware for speed sensor. What I'm going to do though is I'm just going to stick this in for now. And the reason why I'm going to do that is for two reasons. One, we don't want fluid leaking everywhere. And two, once the sensor's in, we can start, because we have to go electronic. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're gonna get this sensor in. That way we can start routing the wires, since we know where it needs to go. So I'm gonna figure this out really quick. We're gonna start ordering some more parts, and then I'm gonna get started on doing the crank sensor wiring. All right, so I called the Nissan dealer to get this gear and the snap ring that goes with it, and believe it or not, they can actually still get it. It's not discontinued, but we won't have it until Friday. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is, like I said, I'm just gonna work on the crank wiring, and if I can, I'm gonna pull the factory speedo cable up as much as I can to get this out of the way. There's a handful of bolts right here, it looks like, for this plate, and then since it's already disconnected because of the power tune display, if everything goes well, it should just slide right out. Okay, so I've got the bolt, shim, and the little stopper removed, and from here you can finally see that I now can unplug this. So before you could unplug it, but you couldn't actually remove it. It would just basically sit right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that all back out, and hopefully we can start wiring this thing up. So here's the harness out. So you guys may not remember, I was able to put this stuff on it. It didn't make a difference, if anyone cares, but it didn't make a difference, and I'm actually pretty proud of myself that I was able to do this without having to take it apart. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to try to depin this connector, and depin this connector. We'll put pins onto the new shielded harness that we ran on the inside, and then hopefully it fixes our problem. So we'll see. Okay, so I've cut the wires down to size. The owner of the car was actually able to get me the pins, so we're going to strip this down. What I do not like though is that there is a vastly large size difference between the two wires, or the pins and the wires themselves. So we're just gonna have to kind of double up on that, and what I mean is we're going to strip a little bit more away than we need to, and we basically have to make a little bit more meat, if you will. So we'll strip this a little bit, these wires a little bit on the long side, and fold them over. That way we just have more material to grab onto, and that should be okay. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. But will it work? Yeah, most definitely. So at the moment, we're not concerned about polarity at the moment. We will be though. And even still, not really. And the reason why I say that is only because you can basically switch the edge within the software, but you know, the least amount of messing with, the better it's going to be. All right, so according to their instructions, the right pin is positive and the left pin is negative. So we're just gonna go through here, and that's just how we had it. So we got lucky on that one. So red on the right and black on the left. Okay, a little bit of a struggle, but I did get it in, so it should be good. I was going to originally wrap it up in some more tape, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. The shield is down pretty good, so I don't think we're going to have any problems here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to snake it all down and drop my cell phone. I'm going to go ahead and snake it all down. What I'm going to do though is since it's all apart again, I'm going to just check the air gap one last time. So now that the wire's snaked down, I haven't plugged it in just yet. What I'm going to do is, a while back when we were testing it, we did remove the shim. So we removed the shim just because we wanted to see if that was it. I remember checking the air gap and it was within spec with the shim and then removing it. But now that we have the alternator back apart and it's a bit easier to check, I just want to go ahead and check it one last time, and hopefully we can get this all sorted finally. So I do remember this last time. I don't have the right shim, so I had to add, I don't have the right shim, so I basically had to put all three shims together here and then get it. So the spec is 0.05, so I've got 0.024, 0.023, which adds to 0.047. So I just need to get a 0.3 in here, and that should give me the shim thickness that we need. So all right, so that's it right there. So we'll go ahead and shim it. Speaking of shims, I went ahead and put the shim back in it. So the shim is now reinstalled. I'm gonna check the air gap. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see this, but you're supposed to check the shim with the crank pulley off. So I have it in. You can feel it dragging just a little bit, so that should be good. So as you can see, I've put the shim back in. I'm just gonna go ahead and plug this sucker back in. All right, so I'm gonna drop it down. I'm just gonna see if it'll start. I'm gonna start it really quick and then just shut it back down. The last time. Okay, I got the battery hooked up. So if everything goes well, this thing will fire up and nothing will happen. Okay, so confirmed, car runs with the new wiring. Okay, so we have the Skyline running. Keep in mind that we do not have the belts on it right now, but it is clear. We've had it running for a little bit here, so we're just gonna, after the water pump's not running, so we don't really want it running for too long, but we do want it to enough for us to check it. So coolant temp's still at a kind of low 40. Oil pressure's a bit on the high side still, so we'll let it run for a few more minutes. In the meantime though, I'm gonna make a couple changes or take a look at this. See, okay, so we still have a lot of things set up. Log set up. I just need to pull up the scope. And so right now already with the car running, we're already having errors with it just idling. Tooth out of range. This is strange. So car stalled on its own, but check this out. If I tap on the throttle, you'll see that it picks up noise. You see down there where it says synchronizing? That's happening when I press the throttle. So it's definitely something noise related. I'm gonna see if we can. Okay, so I added a pull-up. Okay, so something's definitely going on here. So we just do a scope at idle just to be on the safe side. And sometimes even at idle, it may not report an error, but you'll still get an issue with well, like it'll still throw an extra tooth or missing tooth or whatever. And that looks good. All right. So looking at this initial scope, it looks better. Let's check it out again. 34, 34, 34. Okay, so it's looking okay. I guess what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna clear this. Boop. We've got that running, and we're just gonna hit it with the scope now that it's up to temp. So we're just gonna give it a rev. Oh, it's definitely not happy. Oh boy. So we've got the same crap, man. It looks way worse now. So I wonder. Try to turn up this input filter here and see if it does anything. Okay, so we're still getting unexpected missing teeth here. Setting it to rising doesn't do anything. It's weird. Okay, so we still have problems. Well, fuck. All right, I'm gonna try one more time. I have this all the way pulled over. A minute ago it was kind of draped this way. Maybe it was just getting ignition noise from something. It's definitely off the alternator. So let's try it one more time. Okay, with it routed all the way, and we still get errors. So the tooth count though is pretty good. So looking at the scope here, we're consistently getting 34 teeth, whereas randomly we used to get like 35. You'd get an extra tooth. So now it definitely isn't doing that. So something else, unfortunately, screwy is going on here. I just don't know what else it would be. So we're basically grasping at straws now. All right, so since we didn't really get anywhere, the next thing that we've got to do is we're gonna pull the shim out. We're gonna let it cool down for a second. Pops is gonna pull the shim out. I'm gonna call the owner and let him know our findings thus far, but it's not a good look. I hear it popping already, so it's not a good look. So like when it pops, it basically loses sync. And yep. So we're gonna change the input filter to medium. Let's try this one more time. We're gonna try to pull up on it real quick. Okay, well, with the pull up, it definitely doesn't work. Pull down. Okay, so even with the pull down, it's not happy. All right. The only guess that I have now is that all these wires, you can see that they're just kind of ran all over the place. And that's my only guess, is that it's causing interference here. But at this